Welcome to the House on Fire podcast. Our aim is to light a fire for Jesus in the homes of those who listen through encouragement and equipping. Let's partner together to advance the gospel in the next generation. I am your host, Lucas Jackson, and I am passionate about seeing more people on fire for Jesus. When you listen to the House on Fire podcast, you'll hear from people you can rub shoulders with every week at Bethel Church, because all of our guests are from our church family. These are people striving to love God, love others, and to serve the world. Hey guys, thanks for joining us on this episode, and I'm excited to have Russ on the podcast. Russ, thanks for being here, sir.
It's good to be here.
Well, let's kind of dive in a little bit just so we can understand more of who you are. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
Well, my name is Russ Sahr. My wife is Marlene. We've had 6 children, 2 of them natural births to us, and 4 special needs that we adopted over the years.
That's a lot of kids.
And there's one of them passed away, but so we still have 5 kids.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And what have you and your wife kind of done for work over the years?
Well, right out of college, I'm a draft evader. I went through ROTC in college and was immediately in pilot training in the Air Force.
Okay.
That's how I beat the draft. Otherwise, I would have been drafted anyway. So
yeah,
this way I got to choose, and I have wanted to fly from the time I was about 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've been in the Air Force twice. I was in the Air Force, went in 72, took an early out in 75 when they shut Vietnam down, and got recalled to active duty in 79 because they had a pilot shortage because they got rid of too many of us.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, in the time between, I worked as a manufacturing engineer for a company, Rockwell International. I worked for Collins Radio, and I worked in the government avionics division where we built radios for the Air Force.
Okay.
We built the flight instruments for the space shuttle. It was interesting.
Yeah. But
frankly, I found it boring.
Like repetitive kind of work?
No, not as manufacturing engineer.
Okay.
Everything was new, but it was flying was a challenge. This wasn't a challenge. Anyway, I wanted to get back into flying, so we left there after a year. We moved up here to North Dakota. I got a job in a professional film lab as the production manager.
Okay.
And at the time, I was trying to get into the Air Guard.
Okay.
And when I figured out that wasn't going to work because my experience didn't match what they needed, then we moved to South Dakota, and I went back into manufacturing engineer for a company called Control Data. They were owned by 3M and another company.
Okay. And
we built read-write heads for the largest computer drive in the world.
Okay.
Now this is in the late 70s. That huge computer drive, which was about a 1.5 wide, 3-4 inches thick, that had 6 meg. Yes. If you know anything about computers now, your watch may have more than that.
Yes. No. Wow.
Anyway, and from there I was recalled to active duty.
Okay.
And when we first went in the Air Force, we had our first child.
Yeah.
And when I was recalled to active duty, I first started for a short program in New Mexico, and then we moved to Tampa, Florida. And this is it was while we were in New Mexico, I was just there for temporary duties, so my wife and daughter were staying up here in Fargo with their parents.
Okay.
Well, my daughter, my 3-year-old daughter, or I guess been about 5 or 6 years old then,
Yeah.
asked my wife, "Are you and Daddy getting a divorce?" So we're talking on the phone every few days, and she said, "Can we come down there?" "Yes, you can. I'll find a place," because some of the guys had their families there. They were living in furnished trailers in a mobile trailer park.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was stationed at a base outside of Alamogordo, New Mexico. You don't fly into Alamogordo. You fly into El Paso, about 70 miles away.
Yeah.
So my wife and daughter were supposed to fly in there. So I drove down to the El Paso airport, and I'm waiting, and I get paged to this is before cell phones.
Yeah.
Get paged to an airport phone, and it's my wife, and this is in August, and they're fogged in Fargo. So they're going to be down there later. Well, I'm not going to drive 70 miles back and then another 140-mile round trip.
For sure.
So I went downtown and I bought a couple books. And then, so I'm waiting in the airport reading, and I don't remember what one of the books was. One of the books was Late Great Planet Earth by Hal Lindsey.
Okay.
And you have to understand, my wife and I've gone to church all my life. My wife and I went to church all the time.
Yeah.
But I thought it looked like an interesting book, so I read that book. My wife and daughter came, and with them there was another couple from who lived in Alamogordo who were flying back from Fargo.
Yeah.
So instead of having them rent a car, we just gave them a ride back to Alamogordo with us.
For sure.
We ended up going to church with them.
Okay.
But so I'm reading this book. And if you don't know what the Late Great Planet Earth is, it's an end times book concerning Revelation.
Okay.
Now, it wasn't long after I read the book that I could start arguing some of his interpretations, but that didn't matter. The biggest thing about it was he's a Christian author, and what it said to me was, well, I think it's time for me to become a better Christian. And then I read another one of his books, and then I had my wife. My birthday was coming up, and this was about the time we're moving to Tampa, Florida. And I had her buy me a Bible that I figured I could understand. So was
it King James only at that time?
Oh no, there were other things out there, but okay. I had her get me a Living Bible.
Okay.
I don't know why I even knew about it.
Yeah.
But there are people. Yeah, it's a paraphrase and okay. God's word works no matter how he gets it out. Anyway, and the good news is I started reading in Matthew, not in Genesis.
Yeah.
And I wasn't through John before I realized that I was wrong. It wasn't time for me to become a better Christian. It was time for me to become a Christian.
And you're at what age at this point?
At this point, I'm just turning 29.
So your whole life went to church, heard the truth, but yet just never responded in faith.
Well, in fact, initially I was angry at churches. And then I came to the conclusion, no, the church I grew up in, I'm sure all those words were said. I wasn't absorbing them. I wasn't, I had a lot of head knowledge.
Yeah.
But it was the connection between my head and my heart.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so we're in Tampa, Florida, and it's supposed to be a 6-month-long course. This time is important. But because they were going to be resurfacing the runway, and what I was doing is I was training for flying the F-4 Phantom II.
Okay.
And because they're going to be resurfacing the runway, my class didn't start flying until after the runway was resurfaced. So we were there for 9 months.
Wow.
Which I finished class just about the time my second daughter was born there. Okay. And due to complications with the birth, she was going to be our last child. We weren't going to be able to have any more. And we'd always talked about having a big family.
Yeah.
Okay, so when she's about 2 weeks out of after that, then I fly my wife and my 2 daughters back up here to Fargo to stay with family. And I stay for about a week. Then I go back to Florida, pick up my car, and drive to a different base in Florida where I have a 2-week course.
Okay.
And it's, at this point, I'm devouring the Bible. And at that point, I was also a bumper sticker Christian.
Explain. I think I know what you mean, but explain what you mean.
I had a bumper sticker in the back window of my Subaru station wagon, and it said, it was a dove coming down, and it said, "Our peace lies in His will." Anyway, the last day of the classes, I'm checking out. One of the instructors said, "Well, Russ, if that bumper sticker, it was also based on, based how I was acting in the class. And you're going to Alaska. You might want to meet," and he gave me a name of 3 guys. Well, one of the guys was Eddie King. You might want to meet them in Alaska. I thought, oh, that's neat. Anyway, so then I drove back to Fargo, spent a week in Fargo, flew to Phoenix, because I was going through another class in Luke Air Force Base.
Okay. And
spent a week there. But I wander over to it's a simulator building on a Monday morning. And I'm sitting there, and it turns out it's a class with 4 people in it because we're flying air combat simulators. And I'm sitting there, and in walks Major Eddie King, the guy who's from Alaska, whose name I've been given, who has come down to the course at Luke Air Force Base for this 1-week course. And he walks in, and I take out my little notebook. "Well, Major King, Bill Rutledge at Interceptor Weapons School said I might want to look you up." "Oh, are you a brother in the Lord?" I had never heard the term before. But
fascinating.
Yes, I am.
That's awesome.
So we had a great week together. I flew back to North Dakota, spent a week, drove to Seattle, put my car on a ferry boat, and I flew to Alaska. I got picked up in Alaska by someone from my squadron and driven to the visiting officers' quarters where I'd be staying for while I was on base, waiting to get base, find out where I was going to be living and bring the family up.
Yeah.
So the next morning, I'm walking over to my squadron with, base map in hand.
Yeah.
And the only guy I know on base comes walking out of the back door of his house, and it's Major Eddie King. "Oh, Russ, you're here. Where are you going?" "Heading over to the 18th. "I'll take you over." And I get over to the 18th and to the squadron, and I meet my flight commander, and he says, "John Walker has left his car for you. He's out at alert. He'll be out on alert for a week." I don't know any of these people.
Yeah.
What had happened, though, Eddie King had told them down at the squadron, had told the Christians down in the squadron that another Christian was arriving.
Yeah.
And so I had a car to drive. I met with my flight commander. He invited me over for supper, and told me to go to base housing and start, I was a captain at this point. There wasn't going to be base housing for me, but they have lists of places to look downtown.
Yeah.
I ended up in the place that he and his wife had just moved out of because they bought a house there.
Okay.
But anyway, so I go over to his place for supper that night, and I walk in the door, and his wife, Pat Brown, she says, "Well, Russ, I hear you're a Christian."
Word's getting around about you, Russ.
I said, "Well, how do you know that?" Well, Mark Arnold told us. Who's Mark Arnold? Well, he's out on alert. You haven't met him yet. But I'm starting to understand that there's some kind of a Christian underground or something.
Yes.
Anyway, we got a place to live. My wife and my 2 daughters came up, and my mom came up with them.
Okay.
To help us get settled into our house.
Yeah.
Or the duplex we rented. Now, earlier, years earlier, my wife had worked, among other places, she had worked at there was a Bible bookstore in West Acres. She'd worked there.
Okay.
She'd, later on, she would work at the Perry Center as the house mom.
Okay.
So, anyway, so we're in Alaska, and we have decided that, we would like more kids, and because at this point we are both Christians, I became a Christian, and a couple months later in Florida, a few months later, my wife did.
Man, did God use you to bring her to faith? Or was it the church you were going to? Or
it wasn't the church. It was, well, first of all, back in Florida, I'd get back from the base, and I'd say hi to everybody, and I'd go back in the bedroom, and I was just reading the Bible.
Yeah.
And in fact, back in Florida, we were watching, we were attending church there, but we were watching a guy named Kenneth Copeland, Believer's Voice of Victory, on TV. And he was really interesting. But like I said, I'm devouring the Bible. And after about 2 months of him, I started realizing that he's a name it and claim it kind of guy. This isn't how it works. This isn't what the Bible says. Like if you have faith, everything is going to be good, and you're and you're going to prosper.
Yeah.
And this isn't what I'm reading
for sure. Yeah.
But anyway, so we're in Alaska. So we check in with. We start looking at a couple of adoption agencies, and we decide that let's adopt kids that aren't going to get a home otherwise.
And when you say that, most likely special needs kids,
needs,
or even kids that are maybe not really young. Is that kind of what you're thinking, or we're thinking?
We were actually thinking babies.
Okay.
Well, so our first child that we adopted is John, and he is a full-blooded Korean
in Alaska.
Oh no, it's better than that.
Oh.
A full-blooded Korean, born in Grand Forks, North Dakota. His mother took him to Alaska to put him into a foster care up there because they had an awesome foster care system.
Okay.
Oil money.
Okay.
Anyway, so he's in the foster care. He's been in a foster home for about 5 years. He's about 6 years old.
Okay.
But he's in it's a really neat family, but they're old.
Okay.
And they've already adopted a couple of these special needs kids who are now adults.
Yeah.
And John is finally released for adoption. And we got him. Long story short.
Yeah.
We got him.
Yeah.
When he was 6 years old. And this was an education.
How old were your other two kiddos at that time?
Our oldest child, let's see, this would have been in 80. She was 7.5 years old.
Okay.
And the youngest was like, 4 or 5 months old.
Okay. I was curious. So John's now the middle one.
John.
Barely, I guess.
Kind of, with one exception. John is mentally handicapped.
Okay. Yeah.
The condition is called microcephalic.
Okay.
Has a small head, brain did not develop.
Okay.
And so the problem is the infant, the child, starts being able to do things that he can't quite do yet. John is an awesome kid. He's now, let's see. He's now 51 years old.
Okay.
He lives in a group home here in West Fargo.
Okay.
He works at West Acres in the food court in the morning.
Okay.
They transport him over to Paradiso, where he rolls silverware and into napkins and puts a ring on it and a couple other things over there. He got that job when he was in high school here at 20 years old. He has been at Paradiso for 31 years.
Wow. Good for him, man. That's awesome.
And most people can't understand him when he talks.
Okay.
Anyway, so we're in Alaska. So we have our first child. We get to experience the death of friends. 2 Christians flying together in an F4 didn't come back one day.
Oh, man.
So that really starts concerning my wife and the few other Christian wives.
For sure.
Okay, maybe you shouldn't fly together. No, you have to understand. I've been a Christian at that point for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And it took me a year to fully understand that Jesus is always in control. These 2 guys didn't show up in heaven, and Jesus looked at him and says, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, for sure.
He knew from the time he laid the foundations of the earth when he'd be meeting them.
Yeah.
But I said, it took me a year to be able to understand that.
Yeah.
I'm still reading other books besides the Bible at this point. I tried reading Mere Christianity.
Yeah.
And couldn't get it. Gave up on it.
It's pretty complex. It's some deep stuff.
Yeah. I started it again about 5 years later and been through it about three times. But yes, it was much deeper than me. What I found out, see, I wasn't scheduled to go to Alaska. When I came back in the Air Force actually, to recall me to active duty, I had a contract. We were going to go to Germany.
Okay.
And long story short, we ended up in Alaska.
Yeah.
And we went to the base chapel. And it was amazing. The Christian chaplains they had there. And I'm not saying Christian as a generic term.
Yeah.
These were Christians.
Yeah.
And so we went to Sunday school, when I wasn't out on alert or in someplace else. Was taught by Major Eddie King.
That's awesome.
And I didn't find out until he'd left why he was such a good Sunday school teacher. He was also an ordained Baptist minister.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, so we left Alaska at the end of what I actually owed the Air Force for on being recalled, be recalled to active duty.
Yeah.
We moved back to Fargo. I ended up working back in the professional photo lab as production manager again.
Yeah.
I worked there for 28 years.
Oh, man, 28 years.
And after about a couple years, Mark Arnold, I mentioned his name earlier. He left the Air Force. He came down to Fargo and joined the Air Guard out here.
Okay.
Because he was flying, because we had F-4s at the time.
Okay.
And he was a backseater in F-4s. And so we got down here and we lived for 3 months with him until we got a place to live.
Yeah.
Him and his wife. And he called me one day and he says, we have an opening in T-33s out here. Come out and talk to Wally, the commander.
Yeah.
So I went out and talked to Wally, and Wally hired me to fly T-33s. It's an old Korean War vintage trainer.
Okay.
So I had to go for training for that. However, when we came down here is when we acquired our second child.
Okay.
We checked with Lutheran Social Services to see if they about special needs.
Yeah.
And the first thing they wanted money up front. So we checked with, we didn't have money up front.
Yeah.
We checked with Catholic Family Services. We're not Catholic.
Yeah.
And they were tickled pink to talk to us. And what we ended up, they said, we have a Downs baby that we're going to be looking for a home for.
Yeah.
And because we'd started with John in Alaska to first bring him home, we had a foster care license.
Okay. Yeah.
So they gave us, they were able to rush through an emergency foster care license for us.
Yeah.
We brought Peter home from the hospital when he was 6 weeks old.
Peter, that's awesome. And to rush through that, I mean, we're talking, tons of classes, hours of classes, tons of paperwork. That's 60, 80 hours worth of work that they, expedited for you.
We didn't do any of it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They
Praise
just,
God.
but, and there is a couple times in my life that God has, when I say spoken to me, he said words inside my head, but he said, because we went up to look at him in the hospital, and first of all, he was the darling of the neonatal intensive care unit. If nurses weren't doing something else, they were carrying him. We had never been greeted so happily by anybody that we were going to take him home.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we went up and looked at him, came down, and I'm praying to myself, well, Lord, shall we take him? And he said, yes, but this one's going to hurt.
Yeah.
So anyway, we brought him home. He was born on October 12th. We brought him home on November 22nd. And on February 27th, we took him back to the hospital because he had some pretty bad heart problems.
Okay.
And the doctors up at the time it was St. Luke's. It's now Sanford.
Okay.
But it was the doctors up there had checked around the children's hospitals in the country, and no one would touch him because of the issues with his heart.
Yeah.
So they took care of him up here, and we brought him home from the hospital, I think in about May.
Okay.
But by now we had a trach tube. In fact, his heart surgeon knew we were going to bring him home, and we were riding with him in the elevator one day, and he says, I recommend against this. You're not going to be able to handle this. You shouldn't do this at all. Well, we brought him home, and long story short, we managed to handle the trach tube.
Yeah.
Now, if he got an ear infection, he was back in the intensive care unit. We spent several times, several hospitalizations with him.
I can imagine.
But he was outgrowing what they had done with his heart. So we went down to Rochester when he was about 4.5. And they were going to do an open heart surgery on him.
Okay.
We didn't expect him to survive it. He did. In fact, he was doing so well that they sent him back up here to St. Luke's to do to finish his recovery up here.
Wow.
He was OD'd on a drug.
Oh, no.
God knew from the time he laid the foundations of the earth.
Yeah.
What was going to happen?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, said during that time when we got him up here, so when he was about 2, I went, I got in the Guard up here. So I went to Florida for training to learn to fly the T-33.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, I had flown the T-38 as an instructor pilot. I'd flown the F-4. I could fly the T-33 on the first day. What took me 2 weeks to learn was how to taxi the airplane, which was so embarrassing. Anyway, so got back up here and flying T-33, and then T-33, we had 3 of them up here, and they were being sold to Mexico.
Okay.
So airplanes were going away, and we had a C-130, big 4-engine cargo plane as a support aircraft up here.
Okay.
And somebody was going to be going down to training. We hired a full-time pilot out of Alaska to fly it, a guy named John Trombley. And, but we needed co-pilots, so one of the guys in the unit was going to go down there, but he's a farmer and his brother got injured. He couldn't go, so the commander sent me.
Okay.
So I went to C-130 training. I'm one of those few fighter pilots who's actually flown what we call them a trash hauler.
These are I don't know much about planes, but these are very different planes.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Like so
big 4-engine well, to give you we took it to an air show one day and we were talking about renting a car there, and I says, why'd we bother? Let's just take one.
Yeah, for real.
So we just took one of the Air Force cars out at the Guard and strapped it in. And
yeah. How many, I guess depends on the size, how many could have fit in that thing? How many of those cars could you put in that plane?
Well, we could probably only put 2 or 3.
Okay.
It's that type of airplane that was used in the initial rescue of the F-15 backseater in Iran.
Okay.
This last weekend. The ones that they got bogged down in the sand and which they bombed to obliterate them.
Yeah.
Because they brought in smaller airplanes that could land and take off with all the people they had there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm flying that. I go to training on that, and I come back. I'm not happy because I just wanted to go back into the F-4.
Yeah.
But I came back, and I'm doing 2 weeks of active duty back here after the training in the C-130. And one day, the safety officer out there says, well, Russ, how come you aren't flying the F-4? And I said, well, when I got in the unit, the wing commander hired me, and the squadron commander didn't like that. I didn't meet a board or anything. And he just wasn't that happy about having me in the F-4 because I didn't meet a board, didn't get interviewed or anything.
Yeah.
And That afternoon, there's a wing meeting, and the safety officer is named as the new squadron commander. So the next day I come in and I say, okay, Mike, a guy named Mike Haugen. I said, Mike, your question of yesterday is now a lot more interesting.
Yes, it is.
He says, I don't know anything yet, but I'm checking into it. So I go back to work in the film lab, and I get a call from him one day a few weeks later, and he says, Mike Kaiser, he's the commander, the wing commander now. We're over there talking about hiring new pilots, and he says, well, why isn't Sahr flying the F-4? He said, when do you go back to training? Because I'm 5 years out of the jet now. I have to go through a short course.
Yeah.
And I said, next available class.
That's awesome.
So, and what I'm doing when I'm gone like this, Marlene is at home with the kids.
Yeah.
With this medically fragile one.
Yeah.
She's handling everything at home.
Yeah.
Which becomes really important later on.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see. So now we've got 2 kids. Peter dies at 4.5, and at this point I'm flying the F4, and the F4s are going away. They're going to the boneyard.
Yeah.
So I go to F-16 training because we're transitioning to F-16s.
Okay. And what year was this?
That would have been in 89, I think, is when I went to F-16 training.
Okay.
The reason I know was 89 because early in 90, I think, is when the first Gulf War kicked off.
Okay.
And we are brand new in the jets. We have no idea what's going to happen. So we were, those of us who had transitioned to the F-16, some of the guys are going back to long courses there. Our backseaters from the F-4, some of them went to pilot training then and then checked out, but they're not back in the unit yet. So all we have in the unit now is former F-4 pilots or a couple of guys that came out of the active duty Air Force that were flying F-16s already. And we're not sure what's going to happen with our unit. We didn't know if we're going to end up over in the sandbox or not.
Yeah.
So opportunities came up. They used us to help train F-15. We'd fly to the F-15 schoolhouse and fly against them as aggressors.
Okay.
We'd fly Soviet tactics. Back then it was still Soviet.
Yeah.
Wasn't Russia yet.
Yeah, I'm getting quite the history lesson here. It's fascinating for me to listen. This is awesome.
Oh yeah, in Alaska, I'd flown off the coast of Alaska beside Soviet bombers.
Man,
the world was so stable back then.
And that's fascinating for you to say in the world that you're in, because you're flying all these jets and things, and that's
No, the Cold War, turns out, was really stable. Anyway, so let's see. The next child we acquired was sometime in the early 90s, whatever. Oh, I was reading a Christian magazine, and they were talking, and a group called East European Children's Fund, they had advertised a child that needed to come from Ukraine to have some surgery.
Okay.
And the surgery was going to be done at Rochester, through Mayo.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she came over. We brought her over. We adopted her. Marlene went down, went through the surgeries she was gonna have down there, and brought her back, and she's living with us. Turned out she'd been put in an orphanage in Ukraine by her mother.
Okay.
turns out it wasn't out of the ordinary for if they couldn't afford their children, they put them in orphanages.
Okay.
We learned a new term. It's called reactive attachment disorder.
Oh.
In other words, you've got, at the time we brought her, she was 13. She had never bonded
With her mom.
with anybody.
With anybody, man.
Uh,
13 years old, man.
At 18, she wanted to go back for a visit to Ukraine.
Yeah.
So we made arrangements with the organization that brought her over here.
Yeah.
She was going to go back, but they were going to watch over her because she wasn't coming back to our house. To give you an idea, in our house, if you wanted the kitchen knife, you went to the toolbox and opened up and unlocked the
yes, sir. Little padlock.
The padlock.
On it. Yeah. Yes, sir.
And yeah. Interesting times.
Yeah.
See, you have to keep in mind, while she was a problem, she was a victim.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. Amen.
So anyway, she was, I'll jump ahead with her. She was back in Ukraine for 24 years.
Oh, wow. Did you guys stay in touch through that time? Or, did she reach out every once in a while or that kind of thing?
We were actually still supporting her through the organization, helping support her.
Yeah.
An orphan, not knowing it, is probably not going to get a good job anyplace over there. So we're helping support her.
Yeah.
And eventually she ended up with cell phones, and we would talk occasionally.
Yeah. But
when the Ukraine war kicked off, when Russia lined up off the Ukraine border, I was working through a different agency that she was working with over there.
Yeah.
That knew her, and I arranged for her for him to check with the American consulate and get her passport updated.
Yeah.
Well, actually get a passport, an American passport, because she was traveling on a Ukraine back and forth.
Okay.
Anyway, so she got a passport, and then we paid to bring her back here.
Yeah.
She is living in Fargo now.
Okay.
She's had a full-time job for the first time in her life. She's been here, might be coming up on 4 years now.
Okay.
Problem is, my two daughters really want nothing to do with her.
That's hard.
It really is. So we don't mix the two of them together ever.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, we got her in the 90s. We had her for about 5 years before she went back to Ukraine. But while we still had her, we were visiting some friends of ours in Sioux Falls. He'd been a pastor. He was the original pastor for Shiloh Church. Used to be the Salem and Bethel planted a church in West Fargo called Shiloh.
Oh yeah, I've heard some brief things about.
There's
that.
nothing. You've heard nothing good.
That would be true, but I've only heard maybe 3 sentences worth of information, so not much. But yeah.
Well, we were attending Salem, and because we actually lived in West Fargo at the time.
Okay.
They wanted us to go over.
Yeah.
So I was church chairman of Shiloh for its first 5 years.
Okay.
Our final Sunday there, the pastor, the whole elder board, some other people that you'll know here from church who are really, really good members here at church, we all resigned and left on the same day.
Okay. Just a rough go at it, man.
And when I left, I said, it's a quote from Chief Joseph, I think, of the Nez Perce, I will fight no more forever. I felt like a total failure coming out of that. But anyway, we still had the third child was still living with us. The pastor and his wife were now a pastor. They were in a church in Sioux Falls. We went down to visit them. We met some of their people.
Yeah.
Well, one day we had a message on our phone. You may not remember us. Well, it was a couple out of the church.
Okay.
Who had adopted a lot of kids out of Haiti.
Okay.
Well, they had 3 boys that were being brought up by an agency. They'd been brought over to this country for some medical things in Florida.
Yeah.
And they brought them up to Sioux Falls, and they were trying to place these kids.
Yeah.
And one of them was Jonas. They said he's Downs. He's not. But they called and they wanted to know if we would consider taking him.
Yeah.
Well, Marlene was on the board of the Christian Adoption Agency here, so she put him out through the adoption agency.
Yeah.
And you'll find people who will adopt black children. You'll find people who will adopt handicapped children, but we didn't find anyone who would adopt black handicapped kid. So Marlene called me at work one day and she says, "Would you pray about adopting Jonas?"
Yeah.
I said, "No." "How do I pray this?" "Well, Lord, should we adopt him and give him a chance at life, or refuse him and he goes back to Haiti and his life is over? What kind of prayer is that?"
Yeah.
Because that's what you're praying.
Yeah. I
said,
understand what you're saying. Yeah.
"Tell him we'll take him."
Yeah.
Oh, another education. See, John is in a group home. The first one is in a group home in West Fargo with Red River Human Services. We got Jonas when he was 3. He had to have immediate surgery because one of his feet was turned 90 degrees.
Oh, boy, man.
The doctors at the time, it was Merit Care, same place we've been before.
Yeah.
One of the doctors up there did miracles with him, one of the orthopedic guys. And he was, we first got him home, there was a lot of trouble with, having meals with him. He'd throw food and things.
Yeah.
Upbringing spent his first few years in an orphanage in Haiti.
Yeah.
Handicapped kid. Anyway, so we got him into school up here, and he had some real behavior issues. Usually pretty good, but if he blew up, so we got him when he was 3. When he was 14, the school had asked us about this for a few years already.
Yeah.
And they said, consider placing him with Ann Carlson School in Jamestown.
Okay.
Well, we finally got the place that we needed to do this. Now, his paras loved him. The paras at school.
Yeah.
In fact, one of them would come and babysit him so Marlene and I could go out.
Yeah.
But it got to the place he's getting big enough and strong enough. He'd already injured Marlene's shoulder. And it's like I told somebody, I know I can take him in a fight, but this is not how it's supposed to work.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we went and we looked at Ann Carlson School. They gave us a tour, and we're walking through, kind of in tears.
Oh, I'm sure.
Thinking that, Yeah, he's a real handful, but we love him.
Yeah.
How can anybody? Well, the guy who turned out to be a teacher and a few other staff people came down to view him in the school system down here.
Okay.
And Marlene was in to meet with them, and his teacher had this shirt on, Youth for Christ. And so it gave us a little better feeling. And we ended up placing him when he was 14 until the time he was 20. He was with Ann Carlson. They told us, don't come visit him even for the first several weeks. Mm. I think it was about 6 weeks. We brought him home for a weekend, and he was happy to come home. And then we took him back, and he was happy to go back. Mm. Turns out that when you have rotating staff that gets relief, and you have multiple people who can handle them, still had some the behavior issues.
Yeah. But
they loved him there. Mm. They really loved him there, and he loved them.
Yeah.
And when he graduated from there at 20, we turned down the first place they have to place him, which was going to be in Devil's Lake because that's too far away. Mm. And then they called Marlene and says, well, we have a placement for him in Wahpeton. It's with Red River Human Services. Do you want to go look at it? Nope, we'll take it.
Yeah, yeah.
We know this agency.
Yeah.
We've been with them for decades now.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so I got to make sure that that phone isn't my wife telling me she's having trouble with the computer.
No worries.
Nope, it's other things going on in my life. Anyway.
No worries.
So Jonas has been down there now. Let's see. He went down there when he was about 20. He is 93. He's about 32 years old now.
Okay.
About to turn 33.
Yeah.
He has he can walk short distances. He has AFOs, braces on his legs.
Yeah.
Usually he's in either a walker,
okay,
or in a wheelchair. Mm. Cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
He has other things going on, but when we first took him into the doctor here, when we got him, the doctor said, yeah, he's not Downs. Mm. He said, I'm just going to put down on his diagnosis cerebral palsy. He said, that will get you all the services you need.
Mm. What a blessing for that person to be looking out for you guys in that way.
Oh, it really was.
Yeah.
Because cerebral palsy, it describes Jonas, the people in the house, the people who run the house,
yeah,
they can pretty much understand him.
Yeah.
Marlene talks with John and Jonas. John, Monday through Friday, when he gets home from work, and Jonas, every day of the week. Mm. They call.
Yeah.
We have a special phone system at home that we have the same number that we've had since 1983 on that phone system.
I love it.
And what happens is if we're traveling someplace, I will take the SIM card out of that phone system,
yeah,
and put it into a spare cell phone so that when they call,
yeah,
we can still answer.
And they just have to remember the one number, and yeah, what a way to serve them. That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's anyway, when we got Jonas, then the girls and I talked it over, and we bought Marlene a mother's ring. Said, we are done now. Okay, we were 46 years old when we got Jonas.
Man, yeah.
20 many years ago.
Yes. man, that's when most people are thinking, I think we're about to, looking to retire or slow down but for you guys, you just keep listening to the Lord and caring for kiddos. That's amazing.
Well, it was funny because we had a new house in West Fargo that we had built, and we ended up moving. We moved an old farmhouse it was outside of Horace at the time. Now it's in the center of Horace. But a guy from the church here, Marv Fowle, came over while I was working in the house. We hadn't moved into it yet, but I had a lot of work to do to get this thing ready.
Yeah.
And he came in and he said, "Boy, you have a lot of work to do here." I said, "I swore I was going to kill the next person that came in and said that." And he says, "Yes. The difference is they come in and they see everything that needs to be done.
Yeah.
You're working here. You have the finished product in mind. That's the picture you're looking at."
Yeah.
And it was, he's a brilliant man. He'd come over to tell me that he knew a guy who was selling a tractor with a scoop and a cultivator.
Yeah.
That I might want to have that out here.
Yes, sir.
Because we had about 10 acres.
Okay. Yeah.
And a really long driveway.
Well, and if you're from this neck of the woods, you're going to need something to push the snow.
Yep. Anyway, so we have all the kids accounted for.
Yeah.
We were going to have Jonas and John and some of the rest of the family out Saturday before Easter.
Yeah.
And we looked at the weather forecast. Okay, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So Friday morning, we drove down to Wahpeton, picked up Jonas, went over to McDonald's, got him because he needed to have some mom time.
Yeah.
See, when he calls, both of them, if I answer the phone, they're asking for Marlene. John will talk to me for about 15 seconds on the phone.
Yeah.
Marlene will talk for a good 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's almost always the same conversation.
Yeah.
Jonas, it is the same conversation. We learned a new word with him. It's called perseverate. It's when you grab hold of a subject and you keep talking on it always.
Yeah.
And after his birthday, it's Christmas.
Mm.
His birthday's in November, so it's Christmas.
Yeah.
After Christmas, it's his birthday again. Next November.
Yes, sir.
What kind of cake he wants,
Yeah.
Yeah. We do all of this because of Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm 75 years old. I've come to realize that life is really, really short.
Mm.
And we weren't here. God doesn't expect us to be comfortable.
Mm.
Living the abundant life doesn't mean living in a mansion and everything's going to be easy. It's a full life.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter, for the two boys, Marlene and I got guardianship before they turned 18, and my oldest daughter was also listed as a guardian because all things being normal, she should outlast us.
Yes, sir. That would be the desire.
That would be the desire.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And that's it was a big commitment for her also.
Yeah.
Now, at the time, she was a trauma surgeon. Well, she's a doctor.
Yeah.
She was a trauma surgeon in Des Moines for 9 years when they were getting ready to open up the big hospital here.
Yeah.
and they recruited her. And when she said, I said, you don't have to come up here to take care of us, us old people. And she said, yeah, but it's easier for me to move in my 40s than it is in my 50s. But not only that, if something happens to you two, you have to understand that the system for handicapped people in this state is the best because it used to be the worst. And there was called ARC, Group Association for Retarded Citizens or something. They have a couple stores in town.
Okay.
They had a lawsuit.
Oh, yeah.
They had a lawsuit back in the 80s against the state of North Dakota, federal lawsuit.
Okay.
And federal judge Van Sickle. These are near and dear to the heart of people who.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Took over them and started directing the state what they were going to do to fix themselves.
Just because they were not doing a good job or providing services.
They were warehousing.
Okay.
Everyone at a school, at a building in Grafton. Literally warehousing people. Anyway, she said, well, Iowa hasn't had its lawsuit. So I can't bring the boys to Iowa. So it's easiest for me to move up there now. So
man, what a sacrifice for her to make.
Yeah. It's been an interesting life. It's been harder because we're Christians.
Yeah.
Because we've chosen to try to follow what we believe he's leading us to.
Yeah.
But looking at it from this end, it really is short.
Yeah.
75 years.
Yeah.
It's gone by in a flash.
Yes, it makes me think of the book of James where it says, life is a vapor. And and that doesn't mean, even for myself, I sense that life has gotten, the phrase I often in my mind, I'm going to be dead in 30 years. Now it may be 40 or whatever, but and to some people that may be like, oh, that's like morbid, but yet, well, it's going to happen.
Only have so much time left.
Yeah. So like, do I really, I really got to stop and think, okay, are the things I'm doing, do I really want to do this? Because this is going to go by so fast.
Okay. The other thing you need to know, neither one of us are perfect. Me less so than Marlene. We are sinners.
Yeah.
At times, a couple of these children have really pushed us to the limit.
I'm sure. When you're locking the knives in the toolbox in the garage, and for those who have, fostered or adopted, they get it.
Oh yeah.
But there's an aspect where you as parents are going to drastic measures to care for the kids that you love. And that's what it took.
Yes. That's what it took.
Yeah. And for some families, they don't have that, and that's fine, but they went to drastic measures and other ways to care for their kids.
This isn't for everybody. If you're not called to this, probably shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But you're not gifted for it either.
Oh,
you do not get the gifts and then you do this.
Amen to that. Yeah.
This is the school of hard knocks.
Yes. But what a great perspective. It's, I just even think of, in our Bible recap time, just, looking at Moses' story and just, well, God, but I can't speak well. Okay, well, I'll give you Aaron. Okay, now go do what I've told you to do. And so the Lord always provides. He doesn't help us to figure all these things out beforehand. We'll figure it out along the way. Because if we knew all the things before we entered the journey, or, if you and your wife knew all the tricks of the trade, so to speak, then you probably wouldn't rely on the Lord as much. You would have been relying on your own wisdom and experience, but yet you had to rely on the Lord the whole time during that season. And so, so what an amazing perspective to have of that.
I really do want to go home, though.
Well, we're going to wrap it up today, but we're going to have another.
No, I'm talking about home.
Oh, yes.
Home.
I do know what you mean. I feel that a little bit at 38. A little sense of like, there's things about this world that I like, but.
Well, Paul said, Philippians, I don't know whether it's better to stay here or go be with Jesus.
Yeah.
That's up to him.
Yes. Yep. It'll be in his timing and his desire and his will. So it's up to us to take advantage of maximizing our obedience and our worship and our following of Christ today.
By the way, we are doing the Bible recap.
Yeah.
And I've never gone through those first books so slowly. And it's, man, it's not, without the Holy Spirit, they couldn't possibly stay on a straight line.
Yeah. Amen to that.
It's hard enough with the Holy Spirit.
I would agree. Yes, sir. I agree. Well, Russ, I think what I'd like to do is kind of wrap it up here for today, and then we're going to have another conversation where I'd like to just bug you about just other things that the Lord did in your guys' lives as you live life and follow the Lord. And so just as we wrap up our time just for today, just thinking about, just the life you've lived and military. And if I remember correctly, you said I wrote it down because I didn't want to get it wrong because I didn't know. So you had a total of 6 kids and 4 you adopted.
Yes.
But there's 5 that are still here on earth.
Yes. Oh, by the way, I mentioned once about Marlene. When I made full colonel, there was a ceremony out in the wing headquarters where Marlene got to pin the birds on me.
No way.
Because we all realize we didn't get here on our own.
Man, there's wisdom in that. I often think, well, I go to work every day. Now my wife stays home and works, she's got, I guess just our youngest is at home, but any man of wisdom at all understands they didn't get anywhere where they are without the Lord and without the care and love of their spouse. And and even just you mentioned earlier, when you were deployed or gone, your wife's on double duty, and just plenty of days I'm sure she was struggling with that, but yet faithful and caring for the kiddos, and even despite it being I'm sure it was rough at many times.
Oh, yes.
And so, well, thanks for your time today, Russ. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the House on Fire podcast. Our prayer is that this podcast activates your home for Jesus. May the light of Christ burn bright through you and yours. Until next time.